Yes, okay. The today topic is conceptual and regulatory framework for the financial reporting. So today I explain how we use conceptual and regulatory framework and what is the purpose of using conceptual and regulatory framework in financial reporting. අද අපි කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුව පිළිබඳව කොහොමද මූල්‍ය වාර්තාකරණයට සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුව අපි යොදාගන්නේ කියන එක තමයි අපි අද කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. Then these are the learning outcomes that we are going to cover during this session. So at the end of this session, you will be able to explain what a conceptual framework is. It means how we define conceptual framework. කොහොමද අපි මේ සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුව හඳුනගන්නේ? නැත්නම් කොහොමද අපි මේ සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුව පැහැදිලි කරන්නේ? Then second one, describe the evolution of the conceptual framework of financial reporting. Then after we are going to discuss, or here we discuss, how was the evolution of conceptual framework or how it is evaluated. Then third one, outline the structure and component of the framework. This is the key point of conceptual framework. So we are going to discuss today the structure and main component of the conceptual framework. So fourth one, explain the components of the framework. What are the components that are included in the conceptual framework? So as fifth, explain the benefit and criticism of the conceptual framework. Then we will discuss pros and cons of the conceptual framework. When we are using conceptual framework, what kind of things rise as a benefits and what kind of things rise as a criticism. So finally, we discuss the regulatory framework applicable to financial reporting. So these are the things we are going to discuss as a learning outcome. So how we apply regulatory framework? It means conceptual framework apply to financial reporting. Yes, now you can see the conceptual framework meaning, the definition of the conceptual framework. So before going to the definition, we should understand purpose of conceptual framework. So before that, I have a question to ask from you. So conceptual framework, here you can see the definition. So is it an accounting standard? What do you think? මෙන්න මේ conceptual framework එක ගිණුම් කරන ප්‍රමිතියක්. ඔයා එහෙම හිතනවා. So conceptual framework for financial reporting, this has been revised during 2018, but that's not a case. My question is, what is it an accounting standard? It is so, what is it? මොකක් කියලාද ඔයා දන්නේ? මෙන්න මේ conceptual framework නැත්නම් සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමු. මේක ගිණුම් කරන ප්‍රමිතියක්ද නැත්ද? කොහොමද ඔයා දකින්නේ conceptual framework? You can give your answers using both language, Sinhala or English. Pramitya, yes. What is your name, Puta? Registration number 224 mentioned that conceptual framework is accounting standard. So I highly appreciate your attention. So others, you can give your answers. Is this accounting standard or not? ගිණුම් කරන ප්‍රමිතියක්ද නැද්ද?
accounting වලදී අනුගමනය කරන්න තියෙන යම්කිසි ක්‍රමානුකූල වැඩපිළිවෙලක්.
Yes, great, great. Other than that, thank you very much for your response. Highly appreciate for you all.
මූලික ගිණුම් කරන රීතීන් පැහැදිලි කිරීම අර්ථකථනයන් ඒ වගේ සමන්විත මාර්ගෝපදේශයක්.
Yes.
ගිණුම් කරන්නේ සීමා රීතීන් ගැන කියන මූලධර්ම පද්ධතිය.
I asked from you, is this accounting standard or not? You have
No.
idea about the conceptual framework.
ප්‍රමිතියක් නෙමෙයි සර්.
Yes.
ප්‍රමිතියක් නෙමෙයි. ඔව් ප්‍රමිතියක් නෙමෙයි. No.
Yes. Great. Conceptual framework is not an accounting standard. Okay. Conceptual framework is not an accounting standard. This is not a accounting standard. So if you look at the standard like this is the foundation of your journey. At the bottom, you have the framework. On that you can see the guideline and concept and objectives, all things. Basically, framework is, the conceptual framework is what? Consists of accounting standard, a part of accounting standard that guided to accounting standard. Then here you can see the framework set out objectives and concepts that underlie the preparation and presentation of general purpose financial statement for the external users. Then to prepare and present the general purpose financial statement for the external users, the company or managers and accountant, they have to use general guideline. Then the conceptual framework sets out objectives and concepts that needed to prepare and present of the general purpose financial statement for the external users. Clear. Thank you very much. That සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුව කියලා කියන්නේ පොදු පරමාර්ථ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන පිළිවෙල කරන්න, ඒ වගේම පොදු පරමාර්ථ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න අපිට භාවිතා කරන්න වෙනවා විධිමත් ක්‍රියාපටිපාටිය. ඒකට ඒකට අදාළ මඟ පෙන්වීම සංකල්ප හරමුණු පෙන්눔 කරන එක ක්‍රමවේදයක් තමයි මේ conceptual framework. නැත්නම් එක ක්‍රියාවලියක් තමයි අපි conceptual framework නැත්නම් සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුව විදිහට හඳුනගන්නේ. Then after we should have clear idea about the purpose of conceptual framework. You can see conceptual framework of financial reporting, then clearly mentioned that a set of guiding principles that influence and direct decision in a particular area. So normally we identify the framework as a set of guiding principles that influence or affected to take a decision in particular area. So when it comes to the accounting, conceptual framework can be defined as provides guidance and apply in relation to a range of issues relating to the preparation of financial statement. So what kind of guidance, what kind of guideline we should use related to the preparation of financial statement? Then at the end, general purpose financial reporting, which meets the needs of external users of information. So you know that accounting concept and convention have developed over time and provide the fundamental basis for the modern accounting practice. So conceptual framework for financial reporting describe the objectives and concept for the general purpose financial reporting. Okay. Then normally conceptual framework can be split into 4 categories. There are 8 categories. Normally we divide into 4 categories: qualitative characteristic, reporting entity, definition and recognition of the elements, and measurement of the element in the financial statement. Basically, conceptual framework can be divided into 8 elements, but here we mainly focus on 4 elements: qualitative characteristic, reporting entity, definition and recognition of the elements, measurement. So the conceptual framework has one important underlying assumption, which is that of going concern. You know that. Going concern mentioned that a company is assumed to be a position to continue trading for the foreseeable future. It means usually deemed to be a minimum of 12 months in practice. විදන්නවා සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුවට අනුව අකණ්ඩ පැවැත්ම පදනමේ ඉඳලා තමයි මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන පිළියෙල කරන්නේ. දන්නවා ඒක. එතකොට ආයතනයක් අනාගත නිශ්චිත කාලයක් තුල අකණ්ඩව පවතිනවා කියලා උපකල්පනය කරමින් අපි මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන පිළියෙල කරනවා. Then the basic assumption in the conceptual framework we know that is going concern. So now you can see evolution of the conceptual framework. කොහොමද මේ සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුව evolute වෙන්නේ? නැත්නම් විකාශනය වුනේ. Okay, now you can see studied commence in 1960. Studies related to the conceptual framework had been commenced in 1960. So then after Finance Accounting Standard Board USA framework 1978, first conceptual framework to develop. Then after formally International Accounting Standard Board framework first time in 1989 has been introduced. So International Accounting Standard Board IASB issued the first conceptual framework in 1989, which was known as Framework for the Preparation and Presentation of the Financial Statement. එතකොට මේ සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුවට පදනම සපයන්න මූලිකව ජාත්‍යන්තර ගිණුම් කරන ප්‍රමිත ආයතනය විසින් හඳුන්වා දෙනවා පළවෙනි සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුව සඳහා වූ මාර්ගෝපදේශනය 1989 දී. අපි ඒක හඳුනා ගන්නවා framework for the preparation and presentation of the financial statement. මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමට හා සකස් කිරීමට අදාළ වූ රාමුව කියලා. So later in 2010, IASB revised the framework and introduced a framework called Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting. This is the framework applicable from 2010 to 2020. Now you can see under the slide, IASB revised framework in 2010 as Conceptual Framework for the Financial Reporting. 2010 දී මෙන්න මේ සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුව මුලින් තිබ්බේ සංකල්පනාත්මක කියන නම නැතුව framework for the preparation and presentation of the financial statement. ඊට පස්සේ ඒක රිවයිස් වුණා 2010 දී අපි ඒක හඳුනාගත්තා. Can you hear me all?
Yes, sir.
Registration number 480. Okay. Again, revise concept framework for the preparation and presentation of the financial statement in 2010 as conceptual framework. Then they added new word conceptual. Okay. Again, however, due to some facts such as incompleteness and need improvements, again, IASB come up with the new conceptual framework in 2018. Now we are using the modern version of 2018 development. 2010 දී revise වෙච්ච එක නැවතත් revise වුණා 2018 අවුරුද්දේ. This framework was applicable from 1st of January 2020. මේක apply වෙනවා not clear means I can't understand what you say. Not clear means internet problems or my voice or the lesson.
The sound එක කැඩි කැඩි
Okay. I think there is yes, wait, I will check. Thank you. I will check and inform you. Now, am I audible? Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
yes sir.
Thank you. Then I will explain again the concept or evolution of the conceptual framework. So now you can see IASB framework first time in 1989. So International Accounting Standard Board, they introduced first conceptual framework in 1989, which is known as framework for the preparation and presentation of financial statement. So then after IASB revised the concept framework and they introduced new framework called conceptual framework for the financial reporting. Okay. Then they change the keyword. It means in 1989 they introduced framework for the preparation and presentation of financial statements. So they revised it as conceptual framework for financial reporting. මූල්‍ය වාර්තාකරණය සඳහා සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුව කියලා යාලා වෙනස් කර. Then due to some facts such as incompleteness and new improvements, like such changes, International Accounting Standard Board again revised with a new conceptual framework in 2018. එතකොට මෙයාලා නැවතත් මේ 2010 දී revise කරපු accounting standard එක conceptual framework එක 2018 දී නැවතත් revise කරනවා. That is applicable from 1st of January 2020. Under the new version, they introduced measurement basis concept on presentation and disclosures. 2018 හඳුන්වා දුන්න version එකේදී මෙයාලා අලුතින් introduce කරන measurement basis. Another changes is which measurement basis. And not only that, they updated definition of the assets and liabilities. You know that the definition of the assets and liabilities has been changed according to conceptual framework, and also recognition criteria for the assets and liabilities. Then now we are in these days, now we are using the modern conceptual framework which has been developed in 2018. අපි දැන් use කරලා නැත්නම් පාවිච්චි කරමින් ඉන්නේ භාවිතා කරන්නේ 2018 දී develop වෙච්ච සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුව තමයි අපි භාවිතා කරන්නේ. Yes, now you can see the scope of conceptual framework. phase, here you can see the objective of the conceptual framework. Then second phase, you can see qualitative characteristic of the financial information. And also the right side of the second page, element of the financial statement. මුලින්ම ඔයාලට පේනවා උඩම තියෙනවා objectives. Conceptual framework එකේ තියෙන විෂයපතේ තියෙන මූලිකම දේ තමයි ඒකේ අරමුණ. ඊට පස්සේ දෙවෙනි අදියරේ ඔයාලට තියෙන කොටස් දෙකක් යටතේ qualitative characteristic on financial information. ගුණාත්මක ගති ලක්ෂණ, මූල්‍ය තොරතුරු වල ගුණාත්මක ගති ලක්ෂණ. ඊට පස්සේ දකුණු අත පැත්තේ තියෙනවා in right side you can see element of the financial statement. මොනවාද මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන වල තියෙන මූලිකාංග. At the end, recognition and measurement criteria. මොනවාද හඳුනා ගැනීමේ නිර්ණායක, මොනවාද මැනීමේ නිර්ණායක. Yes. The scope of the conceptual framework. විෂයපතේ සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුවේ තියෙන විෂයපතේ. So in the scope of conceptual framework, here you can see there are three phases. No? First one represent objective of the conceptual framework. මුලින්ම අපි දැනගන්න ඕනේ මොකක්ද මේ සංකල්පනාත්මක රාමුවේ අරමුණ. So next, qualitative characteristic of the financial information. And also in right side you can see in the chart element of the financial statement. So qualitative characteristic of the information means normally you know that in the financial, when we are preparing financial statement, what we need financial information. No, based on that external parties are taking decision. So then financial information should be qualitative. So conceptual framework identify a few qualitative characteristics. So we should check those qualitative characteristics with our information. ගුණාත්මක ගති ලක්ෂණ, මූල්‍ය තොරතුරු වල ගුණාත්මක ගති ලක්ෂණ අපි ඊළඟ අධ්‍යයනයේදී කතා කරමු. Then after in right side the elements of the financial statement. You know that there are 5 elements in the financial statement. I will explain one by one today. So finally, recognition and measurement criteria. Recognition and measurement criteria. So how we recognize the elements, how we measure the given element. නැත්නම් හඳුනා ගැනීම හා මැනීමේ නිර්ණායක තමයි තුන්වෙනි එකේ තියෙන්නේ. Then normally qualitative characteristic of the financial information and elements of the financial statement normally we recognize as a bridge in between first phase and third phase. Normally we recognize the second phase, second stage, the second element of the conceptual framework as bridge in between objectives and recognition and measurement criteria. අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් හඳුනා ගන්නවා ආයතනයක තියෙන අරමුණ ඉටු කර ගන්න අපි දැනගන්න ඕනි මොන හඳුනා ගැනීමේ නිර්ණායකද මොන මැනීමේ නිර්ණායක තිබිය යුත්තේ කියලා. එතකොට ඒ දේ යා කරලා හැදුන පාලමක් විදිහට තමයි අපි හඳුනගන්නේ මෙන්න මේ ලක්ෂණ දෙක. Okay, I will explain one by one. Again, you can see the structure and component of the International Accounting Standard Board conceptual framework of financial reporting. So first one, objective of the general purpose financial reporting. Normally, you know that financial reporting purpose divided into two parts: general purpose financial reporting and special purpose financial reporting. So internal parties of the organizations are expecting special purpose financial statement, you know that. But external parties, they are expecting general purpose financial reporting. ඔයාලා දන්නවා පොදු පරමාර්ථ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන නැත්නම් පොදු පරමාර්ථ මූල්‍ය වාර්තාකරණය හා විශේෂිත පරමාර්ථ මූල්‍ය වාර්තාකරණය කියලා කොටස් දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට ආයතනයක් ඇතුළේ ඉන්න පාර්ශවයන් අපේක්ෂා කරනවා විශේෂිත පරමාර්ථ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන සම්බන්ධ තොරතුරු, ආයතනයෙන් පරිබාහිර ඉන්න බාහිර පාර්ශවයන් අපේක්ෂා කරනවා පොදු පරමාර්ථයෙන් හදන මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශනවල මූල්‍ය තොරතුරු. Then first structure or first component of the conceptual framework is objective of the general purpose financial statement. Here we mainly focus on general purpose financial statement. Okay, then the underlying assumption we already discussed. Going concern is the underlying assumption in the conceptual framework. අපි හඳුනාගත්තා මොන උපකල්පනයේද? අඛණ්ඩ පැවැත්ම කියන උපකල්පනය තමයි අපි මෙතනදී උපකල්පනයේ විදිහට හඳුනගන්නේ. Then the qualitative characteristic of useful financial information. So what kind of characteristic we should have, we should include, or information should be included as a enhance of the information. Then we discuss qualitative characteristic. Then fourth, the elements of financial statement. Can you mention the element of the financial statement? Any volunteer? Yes.
Assets, liabilities, expenses, income, equity.
Yes, great. Thank you very much. You are totally correct. Thank you. Actually, I highly appreciate you because you are voluntarily present your answers. Thank you very much for that. Then after finally the recognition and measurement criteria, the recognition and measurement criteria of the elements of financial statement. So what kind of criteria, what kind of measurement criteria, what kind of recognition criteria we should identify regarding the elements of financial statement? When we identifying the assets, what are the things to recognize that item as assets? අපි හඳුනා ගන්න ඕනේ අපි elements පහක් කිව්වා: assets, liabilities, income, equity and expenses නේ. මොනවාද? වත්කම්, වගකීම්, වියදම්, ආදායම්, හිමිකම් කියන මූලිකාංග, මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන වල මූලිකාංග හඳුනා ගනිද්දී නැත්නම් ඒවා මනිද්දී මොනවාද අපි නිර්ණායක වශයෙන් භාවිතා කරන්නේ? For that, conceptual framework support for all the identifications. You know that LKS 2 represent inventory, LKS 7 cash flow statement, LKS 16 denote the property, plant and equipment. Then after SLFRS 16 accounting for leases, it means leases. Then after SLFRS 15 they recognize revenue from contractors, customer revenue. Okay, then according to the conceptual framework they identified or they clearly mentioned the recognition and measurement criteria for the particular elements. Okay, then objective of the, then I will explain one by one that I have mentioned here. So first one, objective of the general purpose financial reporting. The objective of general purpose financial reporting, the objective of general purpose financial reporting, to provide financial information about the reporting entity that is useful to existing and potential investors, lenders and other creditors in making decision about providing resources to the entity. Then the objective of general purpose financial reporting is what? Normally, you know that there are several parties, they are providing resources to the entity. Then here you can see the parties uh, who are providing resources to the entity, existing and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors. They are providing resources to the entity, no? ආයතනයේ දැනට ඉන්න නැත්තම් විභවායෝජකයෝ නැත්තම් lenders නැත්තම් other අනිකුත් ණය හිමියෝ අපි දන්නවා මේ පාර්ශවයන් ව්‍යාපාරයට සම්පත් දීලා ව්‍යාපාරේ මොකද්ද කරන්න කියලා බලන් ඉන්න. They are providing resources to the entity and they are searching what kind of thing doing by business. Based on that, they take a decision. Then in conceptual framework, they denote that to provide financial information about the reporting entity. That is the basic objective of the general purpose financial reporting. පොදු පරමාර්ථ සඳහා මූල්‍ය වාර්තාකරණයේ මූලික අරමුණ මොන්නේ මොකක්ද? To provide financial information. Please note down the highlighted point because those are very important. To provide financial information. මූල්‍ය තොරතුරු සැපීම. මොකක් සම්බන්ධද? මොකක් ගැනද? Reporting entity. වාර්තාකරණ ඒකකය. That is useful to. එතකොට මේ පොදු මූල්‍ය තොරතුරු සැපීම ආයතනයක් සම්බන්ධයෙන් කාටද වැදගත් වෙන්නේ? That is useful to existing and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors. For what? To take a decision because they are providing resources to the entity. Clear? So then I ask one question. If you have any clarification or question, you can ask anytime. You can disturb me and you can ask questions regarding those concepts. Okay. Then I ask one question from you. What is the reason? You know that the financial position is divided into two parts. No? Divided into two parts. Here mentioned that, you know that left side we include what? Equity and liabilities. Here we include assets. Then what's the reason for that? Why we use such technique? Finally, we balance one side to asset side. Could you explain the reason for that? Is there any idea? If you have any idea regarding this, can you explain? ඇයි අපි මේ මූල්‍ය තත්ත්ව ප්‍රකාශනයේ වම් අත පැත්තේ equity liability දාන්නේ? ඇයි අපි මේ දකුණු අත පැත්තේ assets liabilities දාන්නේ? Reason? අපි තීරය තියෙනවටම දානවා නෙමෙයි. ඇයි අපි එහෙම use කරන්නේ? Is there any volunteer?
Sir,
Yes. Okay.
total assets always equal to liability.
Total assets always equal to
Equal to
liability.
liability.
Why did you say so? Your attempt is highly appreciated. Thank you very much, Buddha. So why did you say so?
Double
Yes, tell me.
entry system.
The double entry system. Normally we here we are not using double entry, So anyhow you are attempt is highly appreciated. You take a decisions and you unmute yourselves and give the answers. Thank you very much for that, because you are trying to say something that should be there. Other than that, thank you. Boys, business managers and software engineers.
Based on accounting equation.
Based on accounting equation. Yes, correct. But again, I ask question from you. Then what is the purpose to develop such equation? How they develop accounting equation in such a way? Is there any rationale? Assets equal equity plus liability, accounting equation. Okay, I will.
Measure accuracy.
Yes. Again.
To measure accuracy by this.
Yes, to measure accuracy. Yes, part of it. I will explain. Thank you very much for all responses. Yes. Please listen carefully. In left side meaning the financial position, we record equity, and second item what? Non-current liabilities and current liabilities. Am I correct? Equity, non-current liabilities and current liabilities. Then we take a final amount altogether. Here, non-current assets, current assets. You know, existing and potential investors, they are providing equity. Am I correct? Existing and potential investors, they are deal to equity portion. Lenders are providing non-current liabilities. Other creditors, they are deal with current liabilities. Then in left side, please keep in mind, there are three parties, they are providing resources to the entity. Then entity, you know that according to the entity concept, the business is separate from their owners, no? Then there are three parties are providing resources to the entities. Normally we identify those three parties as equity, non-current liabilities and current liabilities. Clear? Then in left side, we recognize as financing. Finance. මොකද්ද මේ කිව්න්නේ වම් අත පැත්තේ ඉන්න බලන්න හොඳට කොටස් තුනක් තියෙනවා equity non current liabilities and current liabilities හිමිකම් ජංගම නොවන වගකීම් ජංගම වගකීම් එතකොට දැනට ඉන්න සහ බලාපොරොත්තුෙන් ඉන්න ආයෝජකයෝ මොකටද සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නේ equity එකට ඊට පස්සේ lenders ණය දෙන පාර්ශවයන් සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නේ කාටද NCL ජංගම නොවන වගකීම් අවසානට other creditors අනිකුත් ණය හිමියෝ සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නේ මොකටද ජංගම වගකීම් වල. එතකොට මොකද්ද මේ මූල දත්ත ප්‍රකාශයේ වම් අත පැත්තේ පෙන්වන්නේ? ව්‍යාපාරයක් අරමුදල් හොයාගත්ත විදිය. How business has find their resources. Okay. Then in right side, how they invested the collected finance. මේ දකුණු අත පැත්තේ පෙන්වුම් කරන්නේ මොකද්ද? වම් අත පැත්තේ එකතු කරගත්ත අරමුදල් ටික කොහෙද ආයෝජනය කරලා තියෙන්නේ? Then collected finance should equal to invested amount. Then right side normally we identified investing. Then these three parties are searching the fund that they have provided to business. Where is the fund that they are providing to the business? Existing and potential investors and lenders and other creditors are providing resources. Sometimes those are monetary or non-monetary to the entity. මෙන්න මේ අපි කියව පාස් existing and potential investors, lenders and other creditors එයාලා ව්‍යාපාරයට අරමුදල් සපයනවා. එතකොට මේ අරමුදල් සපයුවක අපි දානවා මෙන්න මේ පැත්තේ. ඒව අපි කොටස් වලට කඩනවා equity, non current liabilities and current liabilities කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ එයාලා ව්‍යාපාරයට අරමුදල් දීලා මොකද කරන්නේ? එයාලා බලන් ඉන්නවා. ඒවා කොහෙද ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරන්නේ? ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරපුවා පෙන්නන්නේ කොහෙද? මෙන්න මේ පැත්තේ. නැත්තම් කෙනෙක්ට කියන්න පුළුවන් ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරපුවා මේ පැත්තේ දාන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. වම් අත පැත්තේ. එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? මෙයාට හරියට අඳුන ගන්න බෑ ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරපු අරමුදල් හොයාගත්තේ කොහොමද? ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරේ කොහොමද? ඒකට අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම collected finance should be equal to investment amount. අනිවාර්යෙන් එකතු කරගත්ත අරමුදල් එක පැත්තක තිබිය යුතුමයි නේ. ඒකට ඒක අපි හඳුන ගන්නවා non current assets and current assets. That's why they record in left side equity, non-current liabilities and current liabilities. In right side, they record non-current assets and current assets. Normally, we record or identify it in financial position left side as finance portion. Right side, we recognize as investment portion. මේ පැත්තේ අපි හඳුන ගන්නවා අරමුණ නැත්තම් මූල්‍යනේ කලාපය කියලා. මේ පැත්තේ අපි හඳුන ගන්නවා ආයෝජන කලාපය. Then at the end, these three parties should have clear idea about their resources, providing resources. Then they requesting information from the business. This part prepared by the managers. You know that internally managers decide where we invest. After investing the collected fund, they should prepare financial statement. At the end, all the collected fund should equal to invested amount. Then they identify, they record invested balances and amount. Finally, after tallying this amount with the fund collected, they provide financial information to invested party. Provided parties means existing and potential investors, lenders and other creditors. Those parties we recognize as external parties in the public accounting. You know that in the listed companies there are many investors as a shareholders. Then they have to know what kind of investment the business has doing. Then managers are responsible to provide such information to external parties. Normally, these parties we recognize as external parties. So left side we normally recognize external parties, and right side we normally recognize as internal parties. Is it clear now? Then it converted into rule. You provide answers, no? Rules and double entries, and sometimes it may be a measure accuracy. For that, there may be a standard procedure. That is the reasons to divide such way. In left side, the business should represent how they collected fund. වම් අත පැත්තේ ආ පෙන්නනවා කොහොමද එයා fund එකතු කරගත්තේ. In right side, they represent how they invest collected fund. කොහේද එයා invest කරේ, කොහොමද එයා invest කරේ, එකතු කරගත්ත fund. That's why normally financial position is divided into two phases, or equation has developed. I think that one is clear. So please keep in mind the reasons to divide such a way. Okay. Is there anything to clarify? You can ask any question from me. I'm ready to give my answers. And also please keep in mind there are three decisions taken by existing and potential investors, no, lenders and other creditors. Normally, existing and potential investors are thinking buying or selling or holding equity or debt instrument. What existing and potential investors ලා හිතනවා අපි මේ කම්පැනි තවත් ආයෝජනය කරනවා. තවත් මේ සමාගමෙන් අපි ගොඩක් මිලට ගන්නවා. නැත්නම් අපි තියෙන ඒවා විකුණනවා. ඒවා ඩිපෙන්ඩ් වෙන්නේ මොකක් මතද? මෙයා ආයෝජනයට අර මුදල් සපයලා තියෙනවා. ඒවා හරියට ආයෝජනය වෙලා නැත්නම් මෙයා මෙන්න මේ වංග දකුණු අත පැත්තේ ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් amount එක බලලා ඩිසයිඩ් කරනවා. හරි. Then lenders, they providing funds to the business, then they check credit worthiness of the entity. එයා lenders ලා ව්‍යාපාරයට අර මුදල් සපයලා එයා හැම වෙලේම බලනවා ණය ගෙවීමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙනවද මේ ව්‍යාපාරෙට. Okay. Then I think now you can clear the objective of general purpose financial reporting. So provide financial information about the reporting entity that is useful to existing and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors. So because they are providing resources to the entity. Normally business collected resources and fund from external parties. So these external parties here you can see. Then managers are invested those collected funds to different kind of investment. Yes, okay. Is there anything to clarify? මොන හරි ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවද? All are clear, I think. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Okay, next, let's move to the qualitative characteristic of the financial information. Qualitative characteristic of the financial information. ගුණාත්මක ගති ලක්ෂණ, මූල්‍ය තොරතුරු වල ගුණාත්මක ගති ලක්ෂණ. So qualitative characteristic can be categorized into two as fundamental qualitative characteristic and enhancing qualitative characteristic. Then fundamental qualitative characteristic make financial information useful, while enhancing qualitative characteristic enhance the usefulness of financial information. Here you can see the qualitative characteristic has been divided into two, fundamental and enhancing. එතකොට ගුණාත්මක ගති ලක්ෂණ කොටස් දෙකකට බෙදලා දෙනවා. අර මෙතන පැහැදිලිව පේනවා මූලික ගුණාත්මක ගති ලක්ෂණ සහ වැඩි දියුණු කිරීමේ ගුණාත්මක ගති ලක්ෂණ. So again, fundamental qualitative characteristics divided into two, relevance and faithful representation. Relevance අදාළ බව, faithful representation විශ්වසනීය නියෝජ්‍යත්වය. So when it's come to the enhancing qualitative characteristic has been divided into 4. First one, comparability, timeliness, verifiability, and understandability. Okay, I will explain one by one. Fundamental qualitative characteristic. As I mentioned you earlier, there are two characteristics which are relevant to the fundamental qualitative characteristic. So to achieve the above mentioned objective, what is our objective? To provide financial information about reporting entity. There are a definition to provide financial information to the financial information about reporting entity that is useful to existing and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors because they are providing resources to the entity. No, then to make a decision, they need such information. That is the objective. So to achieve that particular objective, financial information should be relevant and provide faithful representation about the entity. එතකොට එහෙම තීරණයක් ගන්න අදාළ තොරතුරු මොකද වෙන්න ඕනි? අදාළ තොරතුරු අදාළ වෙන්න ඕනි. ඒ වගේම විශ්වසනීය නියෝජ්‍යත්වයෙන් යුතුව පෙන්වුම් කරන්න ඕනි. So these two characteristics are called as fundamental qualitative characteristic of the financial information. So here you can see first one is relevant. Relevant. So here you can see make a difference in the decision made by users. Users are taking many type of decisions. No, so normally we identify relevance as ability of financial information to make changes in decision made by users of financial information. So do the changes or to make changes in the decision made by users, the information has an ability to make changes in decision made by users. තොරතුරු වලට users ලා ගන්න නැත්නම් භාවිත කරන නැත්නම් පාවිච්චි කරන්නන් ගන්න තීරණයන් වල යම් වෙනස්කමක් කරන්න. මෙන්න මේ තොරතුරු බලපානවා නම් අපි කියනවා අදාළ බවින් යුක්තයි. So financial information will be relevant only if it has predictive and confirmative and both. So here you can see information will make a difference in decision making if it has predictive value, confirmative value or both. එතකොට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? අපි අදාළ බව කියන එක තොරතුරක් අස්සේ අදාළ බව තියෙනවා කියලා තියෙන්න නම් මොකද්ද තියෙන්න ඕනි? predictive value එකක් තියෙන්න. confirmative value එකක් තියෙන්න. පුරෝකතන අගයක් තියෙන්න ඕන. නැත්නම් තහවුරු කිරීමේ අගයක් තියෙන්න ඕනි. මෙන්න මේක මෙහෙම දෙයක් වෙයි කියලා අපිට බලලා තීරණය කරන්න පුළුවන්. When we look at the profit of the organization, what we can decide? If company has a loss value, what we can decide? Yes, company may go into loss situation. If company has huge margin of the profit, then we can decide or we can predict the future. The company is moving to growth. Company එක අපිට අලාභයක් තියෙනවා අපිට මොකද තීරණය කරන්න පුළුවන්? මේ company අනිවාර්යෙන් ඊළඟ දවසේ වැහෙනවා. එහෙම වැහෙනවා කියලා එකපාර කියන්න බෑ. නමුත් අපිට ඒක තීරණය බලලා අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්තම් මේ company ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දේ පාර පිට තමයි දුරන්නේ. නැත්තම් ලොකු profit margin එකක් තියෙනවා. මේ company ආයෝජනය කරන එක හොඳයි. clear? එතකොට මොකද තියෙන්න ඕනේ? Financial information will be relevant only. So information will make a difference in decision making if it has predictive value or confirmative value or both. Sometimes there may be both predictive value or confirmative value. So unrelevant information can be useful. Information is relevant when it helps users to evaluate past, present, or future events. So informations are more useful or relevant when it helps users to evaluate their past behavior and present and future events. So අපි කියනවා තොරතුරු අපිට අදාළ වෙන්නේ යම් අපිට ලබා දෙන බාහිර පාර්ශ්වයන් ලබා දෙන තොරතුරු වැදගත් වෙන්නේ ඒ භාවිත කරන පාර්ශ්වයන්ට ගන්න තීරණ වෙනස් කරන්න පුළුවන්. එයාගේ අතීතයේ බලලා අනාගතයේ බලලා වර්තමානයේ බලලා. Clear? එතකොට තොරතුරු අදාළ බැවින් යුක්ත වෙද්දි මොනවද තියෙන්න ඕන? තොරතුරු වල ලක්ෂණ දෙකක් තියෙන්න ඕන. එකක් පුරෝගත නගය නැත්නම් අපි කියනවා තහවුරු කිරීම. ප්‍රතිපෝෂණ නගය. සත්‍යාපන කළ හැකි යකි. So predictive value is what? If we can predict our future from information, we can call information may more relevant. තොරතුරු තුලින් අපිට අනාගතයේ පුරෝගතනය කරන්න හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා. අනාගත ප්‍රතිඵල වාර්තා කරන්නට පරිශීලකයන්ට යෙදුමක් විදිහට මේවා භාවිතා කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් මේක අපි භාවිතා කරනවා මේ තොරතුරු අදාළ බවින් යුක්තයි. And comparative value, if we can compare our past expectation from information, here also we call information is more relevant. තොරතුරු වලින් අතීත අපේක්ෂාවන් අතීතයේ ඇතිවෙච්ච දේවල් තහවුරු කරන්න හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා. අපිට කියනවා අපි තොරතුරු අදාළ බවින් යුක්තයි කියලා. I think this part also clear. Yes, second one, faithful representation. Faithful representation is second element of the fundamental qualitative characteristic. So information must faithfully represent economics phenomena, that is purpose to represent. Here you can say information must faithfully represent economic phenomena, that is purpose to represent. It means information provides the substance what it purpose to represent. In other words, information should be complete, natural, and free from errors as much as possible to represent the real pictures about the entity. ඒකල කියන්නේ ව්‍යාපාර විසින් සපයන තොරතුරු විශ්වසනීය නියෝජනය වෙනවා කියන එකෙන් ව්‍යාපාරය පිළිබඳ පිච්ච එකක් ව්‍යාපාරය පිළිබඳ පැහැදිලි සංසිද්ධියක් නිරූපණය කරන්න පුළුවන් දෙන තොරතුරු වලට අපි කියන විශ්වසනීය නියෝජ්‍යත්වයක් කියලා. නේ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන මගින් ඉදිරිපත් කරන තොරතුරු විශ්වසනීය නියෝජ්‍යකින් නිරූපණය වෙනවා නම් නැත්නම් විශ්වසනීය නියෝජනයකින් අනිවාර්යෙන් ඉදිරිපත් කළ යුතුයි. එතකොට තමයි අපි එතන මූලික ගුණාත්මක ගති ලක්ෂණයක් වුණා කියලා කියන්නේ. Then for that, three characteristics of the perfect faithful representation. ගොඩ සර්ව සම්පූර්ණ විශ්වසනීය නියෝජ්‍යත්වයක් තුල ලක්ෂණ තුනක් නැත්නම් කාරණා තුනක් සම්පූර්ණ තිබිය යුතුයි. The first one, complete. Complete means adequate or full disclosures of the all necessary information. අපිට අවශ්‍ය සියලුම දේ අපිට ඒ වෙනුවෙන් ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. Complete කියන. Neutral, fairness and free from bias. There is no any parties to do some bias. Then there may be a fairness. අපි සපයන තොරතුරු සාධාරණව නැත්නම් ඒක ඇතුලේ පක්ෂපාතී බවක් නැහැ. පක්ෂපාතී බවක් කාටවත් නැහැ. අපක්ෂපාතීව තොරතුරු මත පදනම් වෙලා තීරණ ගන්න පුළුවන්. Then third one, free from errors. No inaccuracies or omissions. There is no any errors. It means there is no any omissions or inaccuracy situation. Then we move to the enhancing qualitative characteristic. Enhancing qualitative characteristic. First one, comparability. Comparability. සංසන්දනාත්මක බව. So here you can see information is more useful if it can be compared with similar information about other entities and same entity for another period or date. So you know that comparable information enables comparison within the entity as well as across the entities. අපිට පුළුවන් සංසන්දනාත්මක තොරතුරු තිබ්බොත් ආයතනයේ ඇතුලේ පසුගිය වර්ෂත් එක්ක සංසන්දනය කරන්න. නැත්නම් ආයතනයෙන් පරිබාහිර වෙලා ආයතනයට හා සම්බන්ධ වෙනත් ආයතනත් එක්ක සංසන්දනය කරගන්න. As an example, the company is using FIFO method to evaluate the inventory value. Last year also they were using a FIFO method. Then they can compare the difference, okay, because they are using same method. And also let's assume the company is using diminution balance method or depreciation method to depreciate their assets. And also another company also they are using also same method to depreciate value. Then company can compare the amount with particular company because they are using same or similar information. Clear? Then Where comparison are made within the entity, information is compared from one accounting period to another. So the company ඇතුලේ අපි සංසන්දනය කරනවා නම් එක අවුරුද්දක ඉඳලා තවත් අවුරුද්දක අපිට සංසන්දනය කරන්න පුළුවන්. For example, income is compared for the years 2017, 18, 19 and 20 respectively. Then comparability of information across entities enable analysis of similarities and differences between different companies. Then company can compare with another company, then they can decide what kind of thing they are using as technique. Because both companies are using same technique, both companies are using same method, but their profit margin is high. Then they can compare. What is the reason for that? Definitely, when compared to the financial statement, sometimes their promotion cost may be high. Then company decide to success that company in current level. What is the reason? They are using many promotion activities. Like that, we can predict the information based on the financial state. I think that part also clear. Then verifiability. Satyapane kare. Verifiability means assure that information faithfully represent the economic phenomena it purport to represent. So verification can be direct or indirect. Sometimes may not be possible to verify some information until a future period. So verifiability means financial information is supported by evidence and independent individuals to check them to see whether such information is faithfully represented. In other words, information is verifiable if it can be audited. You know that GRN, good receiving note, used to denote the receipt of the goods to the warehouse. Based on that note, based on that evidence, the company verify the received inventory value to the company. So අපි දන්නවා GRN කියන note එක බැලුවාට පස්සේ පුළුවන් කොච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් ආයතනයට හම්බෙලා තියෙනවා. කොච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් තොග විදියට ආයතනයේ ගබඩාවට හම්බෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒක අපිට verify කරගන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට තහවුරු කරගන්න පුළුවන්. නේ? Sometime may be not possible to verify some information until a future period. Sometimes we can't verify the information because uncertainty of that information. As an example, when there is a case on such issue, decision may come to the company at the end of year or after the reporting period. සමහර ලාවට අපි අපිට විරුද්ධව ආයතනයක් නඩුවක් දැම්මොත් ඒකේ තීරණය වෙන්නේ කාලයකට පස්සේ. That's why some verifications needed some time to take a adjustment. Verifiability. Then timeliness. So information being available to decision makers in time to be able to influence their decision. So information should provide with a given time framework. Otherwise, users can't decision based on the information. So the older information, the less useful it is. So it should not be significantly delayed, or else it will be of a little or no value. Sometimes delay informations are no value added to the company. අපිට අවශ්‍ය වෙලා අපිට information නැත්නම් අපිට ඒකෙන් තීරණයක් ගන්න බෑ නේ. තොරතුරු පරක්කු වුණාට පස්සේ අදාළ users ලාට තොරතුරු ගන්න බෑ. ඒකට කාලීන බව කියලා කියන්නේ අදාළ වෙලාවට අදාළ අවශ්‍යතාවයට දෙන්න ඕනේ. එයාගේ තීරණයට බලපෑම් කරන්න. That's time. So understandability. Based on the information, the users can classify, characterize, and present information clearly and concise. And also the given information should understandable. So understandability requires financial information to be understandable or comprehensive to users with reasonable knowledge of business and economic activities. Okay, so these are the very simple concepts. I think you all are aware about this because you have faced the level examination. So, and these concepts that you have learned at the level examination, the difference here is I'm conducting using English word. That's the difference. So I think you all are aware about these concepts. So anyhow, I again remind you Yes, cost of financial reporting. This part is not essential. He mentioned that cost must be justified by the benefits of reporting. You know that the to prepare the financial activities and to maintain the financial activities, to use financial information, the cost may be happen, cost may incurred. So such cost must be justified by the benefits of reporting. That's the thing. So elements of the financial statement, I'm not going to discuss in detail this slide because you all are aware about the element of financial statement. There are 5 elements: assets, liabilities, equity, income and expenses. මූලිකාංග මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන වල මූලිකාංග 5යි වත්කම් වගකීම් හිමිකම් ආදායම් හා වියදම්. So I will explain those elements according to the conceptual framework definition. Okay. Then first definition, assets. Assets, here you can see the definition for the assets. A present economic resource controlled by the entity as a result of past event. Normally, we recognize assets as a present economic resource that is controlled by the entity and also that derived as a result of past event. අතීත සිද්ධියක ප්‍රතිඵලයක් විදිහට as a result of past event. අතීත සිද්ධියක ප්‍රතිඵලයක් ලෙස. And also present economic resource. Please keep in mind the definition. Highlight point is present economic resource. වර්තමාන ආර්ථික සම්පතක් ආර්ථික සම්පත that is controlled by entity. ආයතනයක් විසින් පාවිච්චි කරන වර්තමානයේ ආයතනයේ සතු ඇති ආර්ථික සම්පත අපි හඳුන ගන්නවා assets එකක්. So an economic resource is a right that has the potential to produce economic benefits. Then we can define, we can identify what is mean by economic resource. So economic resource has the right to what? To produce economic benefits at the future. අනාගතයේදී මෙන්න මේ ආර්ථික සම්පත භාවිතා කරලා අපිට ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිලාභ ජනනය කරගන්න හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා, අයිතියක් තියෙනවා, අපි හඳුන ගන්නවා එක වත්කමක් කියලා. So definition of liabilities. Definition of the liabilities. A present obligation of the entity to transfer an economic resources as a result of past event. Present obligation. වර්තමානයේ බැඳියාවක් ආයතනයට තියෙනවා. Present obligation of the entity. For what? To transfer an economic resources. Company has the liability or obligation to transfer economic resources. ආයතනයෙන් ආර්ථික සම්පත් පිටතට මාරු කරලා යවන්න වර්තමානයේ ආයතනයට බැඳියාවක් තියෙනවා. ඒ බැඳියාව වෙන්නේ කොහෙන්ද? As a result of past event. Clear? Then an obligation is a duty or responsibility that the entity has no practical ability to avoid. Then the company should transfer the economic resource. There is no any chances to avoid such liabilities or responsibility. Then normally obligation is a responsibility. නැත්නම් වගකීමක් කියලා කියන්නේ අපි ඒක අඳුන ගන්න ආයතනයේ බැඳියාවක් තියෙනවා. නේ? ඒකට ඒක මගහැරලා යන්න බෑ ආයතනයට. අනිවාර්යෙන් ආයතනයට සිද්ධ වෙනවා ඒ දේ වෙනුවෙන් ආර්ථික සම්පත් ගලනවා. යවන්න. So definition of the equity. කොහොමද අපි මේ හිමිකම කියන එක නිර්වචනය? Equity is the residual interest in the assets of the entity after deducting all of its liabilities. You know that equity is the difference between assets and liabilities. Income. Income is increase in economic benefits during the accounting period. I think this part I explained during the overview of accounting also. Then I'm not going to discuss in detail here. Definition of the expenses, like last day I explained that part. So recognitions of the elements in the financial statement. කොහොමද මේ හඳුනාගත්ත මූල්‍ය අංග අපි හඳුනාගන්නේ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශනවල? Recognition is the process of incorporating in the statement of financial position or statement of comprehensive income in item. That means to recognize the elements in the financial position or statement of comprehensive income, that item should meet මූල්‍ය තත්ත්ව ප්‍රකාශනය නැත්නම් ආදායම් ප්‍රකාශනය හඳුනා ගන්න ඒ item මොනවාද සම්පූර්ණ කරන්න. first of all, the item should meet the definition of the element of financial statement. අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශනවල තියෙන කොටසක් විදිහට හඳුනා ගන්න ඒකේ දීලා තියෙන නිර්වචනයට අනුකූල වෙන්න ඕනේ. And also the criteria for the recognition. වගේම ඒක හඳුනා ගන්න නිර්ණායක කීපයකුත් තියෙනවා. Then there are two. It is probable that any future economic benefit associated with the item will flow to or from an entity. It means the probability of future economic benefits. Sometimes future economic benefits may come to the entity. Sometimes future economic benefit will flow from the entity. සමහර අවස්ථාවලදී ආර්ථික අධිලා අනාගත ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිලාභ ආයතන තුලට ගලා එන්න පුළුවන්. සමහර වෙලාවට ආර්ථික අනාගත ප්‍රතිලාභ පිටතට ගලා යන්න පුළුවන්. And also the item has the cost or value that can be measured reliably. Then cost of the item or value of the item can be measured reliably. It means the reliability of the measurement. Measurement should reliable. නිවැරදි විශ්වාසදායී ලෙස මනින්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න. අන්න එහෙම වුණොත් විතරයි අපිට මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන වල හඳුනා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. So measurement කොහොමද මේ මිනුම්කරණය වෙන්නේ? The measurement is the process of determining the monetary amounts at which the element of financial statement are to be recognized and carried in the financial statement of financial position and the statement of comprehensive income. So under the measurement, we recognize measurement is kind of process to determine monetary amount of the element of the financial statement. You know that in the financial position or comprehensive income, we should include monetary amount. No? සංඛ්‍යාත්මකව වයින්න පුළුවන් මිනුම් වටිනාකමත් අපි පෙන්නුම් කරන්නේ. එතකොට මිනුම් කරන යටතේ අපි හඳුනගන්නේ the process of determining that monetary amount. මේ වටිනාකම තීරණය කිරීම ක්‍රම විදිහට තමයි measurement වලදී අපි කතා කරන්නේ. So measurement basis, there are four bases: historical cost, current cost, realizable value and present value. Measurement basis, I will explain one by one. So conceptual framework describes the measurement basis and factors to consider when selecting a measurement basis. To identify the basis, it means which basis the company should use. Historical cost, normally we use to identify the value of property, plant and equipment or inventory. Current cost, sometimes realizable value. You know that when we are valuing the inventory in the current price, the normally company should use realizable value. And also present value. To determine the value of investment in such situation, we have to use present value technique as a measurement basis. Okay, so I will explain one by one. Historical cost. Normally historical cost is the original cost of assets or liabilities, which can be used to record the transaction in the entity's records. අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් හඳුනා ගන්නවා ඓතිහාසික පිරිවැය කියන එක ආරම්භක පිරිවැය. වත්කමකෝ වගකීමක ආරම්භක පිරිවැය නැත්නම් මූලික පිරිවැය. මූලිකම වටිනාකම. As example, in property, plant and equipment, we normally recognize the cost of the property as acquisition value. Okay. So current cost, vartamana period. For current cost, what we can use fair value, sadharana gear. I can't clear your question, Putta. One student asked the question, but I can't understand what are you asking. කිනුම් කරන සංකල්ප එක සංකල්පයකට තව නම් තියෙන්නේ. අපිට ඒ වගේනුත් අහනවා. Can't understand what kind of things you ask. Measurement basis, under the measurement basis, the second one, current cost. For that, we can use fair value. It means the fair value of the assets. සාධාරණ අගය. It means normally in the singular sense ආරක්ෂණ විචක්ෂණ ඒ වගේද?
ඔව් සර් එහෙම තමයි.
In the English normally we use for the uh, same name, it means one word for all. There is no any similar words actually. No need to worry about that. Please go through the handout and refer those notes. And if you have any further clarification, I will upload the document consisting of accounting concept also. I think that's enough. Because in your papers totally ask from the consolidated financial statement and branch accounting, and other than that, these are basic concept. No, sometimes ask question as 5 marks or 2 marks question may ask from conceptual framework and overview of financial statement. Okay. So measurement basis, historical cost, I explained the historical cost definition. Then after current cost for that we can use fair value. සාධාරණගේ අපිට යොදා ගන්න පුළුවන්. So we can define fair value as to decide the fair value there should be 4 elements. Please note down the definition of fair value. Fair value is the price that would be received sell and assessed or paid to transfer a liability in an ordinary transaction between market participants at measurement date. You can search the definition of fair value from the Google, then you can obtain such definition from the internet also, because I used that definition and I got that definition from the conceptual framework standard book. So you can search the fair value from the internet and you can get the definition for that. So realizable value. Realizable value can be derived from the use of assets. So it varies based on the entity's expectation about present value of future cash flows, which are expected to be derived from the use of its useful life. You know that revaluation value of the realizable value, revaluation value of the property, plant and equipment. So finally, present value, vartamana, present value of the future cash flows which are paid to fulfill or settle an obligation. Present value means the present value of the future cash flows. Present value of the future cash flows. Okay, here. Fourth one, the development of accounting standard become more economical. Okay, simple thing. As the results of the development of accounting standard, it will be supported to the more economical situation, because that will guide it to the consistent or logical way to development of the financial statement. Then company get the idea of reading from the conceptual framework and develop their financial statement based on that. Then final one, emphasize the decision usefulness of the role of financial reporting. Finance report එකේ තියෙන quality නැත්නම් usefulness එක අවධාරණය කරනවා මේ conceptual framework, because they are searching the importance of the financial report. So these are the benefits of the conceptual frameworks. Okay. Then after Disadvantages of the conceptual framework. Disadvantage. First one, burden on small organization, definitely. No? Most of the small and medium sized scale organization, they have to also use to conceptual framework because, and also they don't know how to use conceptual framework because lack of skills and lack of knowledge about the usage of accounting standard. That will be burden for the small organization. නේ. කුඩා පරිමාණයේ ව්‍යාපාර වලට මොකද වෙන්නේ? කුඩා පරිමාණ ව්‍යාපාර වල ඉන්න ව්‍යාපාරිකයන්ට කොහොමද මෙන්න මේ conceptual framework එක use කරන්නේ? නැත්නම් accounting standard කොහොමද use කරන්නේ? මේ මිනිස්සු හරියට දන්නේ නැහැ. knowledge එක අඩුයි. Then ඒක අමතර burden එකක් නැත්නම් අමතර පිරියාවක් විදිහට දරන්න වෙනවා small organization. And then second one, economic in focus of conceptual framework. Economic in focus of conceptual framework. And then third one, representation of the codification of existing practice rather than prescribing an ideal or logical derived approach to the accounting. So you know that the conceptual framework realize the existing practice, what they are using, and also they are not going to explain the logically derived approach to account. So most of the companies using different kind of techniques. But according to the conceptual framework, they mentioned that you should use unique method to measure such. In such situation, they have to move from their existing practices and then approach to accounting. Yes, I think all the things I have explained regarding the conceptual framework. So if you have any clarification now, you can ask, and I will give the answers because some students are asked some question during my lectures.